Hello. Well, there are no ghoulies and ghosties today for this vlog. I'm doing something very different. I'm here on Burton Road in Lincoln and I'm going to visit the Lincolnshire Life Museum. It was formerly a military barracks, but it's been home to the museum since 1969. Now, in a county as rural as Lincolnshire, it's not surprising that many of the exhibits here illustrate the agricultural and industrial history of the county. As you can see, there are lots of antique tractors and various engines on display. Now, the most impressive machine on display here has to be this authentic World War I tank. Now, it was built in Wednesbury in the West Midlands, and for many years it was misidentified as a tank called Flirt 2. Now, in 2013 the original serial number was discovered and it was found to be a tank named Daphne. Now, the tank had been damaged by German artillery fire on the 21st of August 1917 at the Battle of Ypres in western Belgium. Years later it ended up at the Bobington Camp Museum in Dorset, and after being restored it was loaned to the Lincolnshire Life Museum in 1989. Now, it's fitting that this incredibly rare First World War tank should reside here, because the tank was invented here in Lincoln. It was designed by William Tritton, and the prototype, named Little Willie, was built in 1915. Later that year it was tested at Burton Park on the outskirts of Lincoln. Here we have a German field gun from World War I. It was captured from the enemy in 1914. Some interesting old bikes. Old carriage. It's quite reminiscent of something from a Wild West movie. It says, "Help a damsel in distress by crank starting the car. Stand directly in front of the sensor, circle your right arm to start the engine." Well, I think that's going to be a bit awkward while I'm filming. I'll have a go off camera. That way, if I'm too wimpy to start the engine, then you won't know about it. Horse-drawn hearse from 1885. Now, it was donated to the museum in 1971. Some interesting old bikes. This one's called the Hobbyhorse. The one next to it is an old penny farthing, invented in 1871 by British engineer James Starley. I always associate penny farthings with the old 1960s science fiction show The Prisoner. Here's an old blast from the past, an old Silver Cross pram. Now it's identical to the pram that I had when I was a baby. I have vague memories of it, and my younger sister had it after me. I think we all had prams like this back in the 50s and the 60s. Military life. Now this should be interesting.
And captured a further trench 250 yards long.
It says here that 85% of the men of the Royal Lincolnshire Regiment who served in Malaya against the communist terrorists were on national service. Now I know that the war in Malaya started a few years after the end of World War II, but I didn't realise that conscripts were sent there.
London Gazette, 15. Charles Sharp, number 7942, Acting Corporal, 2nd Battalion, Lincolnshire Regiment. Award of the Victoria Cross for most conspicuous bravery near Rouge Blanc on the 9th of May 1915. When in charge of a blocking party sent forward to take a portion of the German trench, he was the first to reach the enemy's position, and using bombs with great determination and effect, he cleared them out of a trench 50 yards long. By this time, all his party had fallen. He was then joined by 4 other men, with whom he attacked the enemy, again with bombs, and captured a further trench 250 yards long.
Now it's strange to think that the men commemorated in the exhibit we've just seen were more than likely stationed in this very building. It was the barracks for the Lincolnshire Regiment from 1857 to 1963. Now outside, continuing the military theme, we have an Anderson shelter. Now in Britain during the Second World War, nearly every house had one of these at the bottom of the garden to shelter in during bombing raids. Now the shelter was half buried in the ground with earth heaped over the top, and they were very tough. Well, I guess they really had to be. Now I've just been informed that the museum is about to close, so forgive me if I hurry past the last of the exhibits. We have a rather moth-eaten stuffed lion and an impressive set of shark's jaws. I'd like to know more about these guys, but we have to leave. Well, thanks for joining me. It's made a bit of a change from my usual vlogs on legends and folklore. Now, I plan to visit a few more museums during the summer, so I hope to see you then. Cheers.